Welcome to Stories of Brisco and Bradshaw. I would be Bradshaw. That would be your Chickasaw native, your Chickasaw Hall of Famer, Oklahoma's favorite son, who right now is dodging a hurricane, Mr. Gerald Brisco. Huge treat for us today. Two incredible stars, two incredible comedians, two incredible wrestlers. And by the way, I got to call in one of my greatest moments of my life, the Money in the Bank cash in that Dolph Ziggler had, Nic Nemeth had in the Meadowlands right after WrestleMania. It was Brooklyn, right? Brooklyn right after WrestleMania.
Well, the Izod Center at the time, so I guess it's like, is that Jersey?
Wherever it was, It was somewhere. It was
Northeast.
It was up there. It
was
awesome.
It was up there.
The Nemeth Brothers, Ryan and Nic Nemeth. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, man.
Thanks for having us. It's awesome.
Was that the Izod Center? I thought it was Brooklyn. I
think it was Izod. Yeah, I think. Yeah. There's a picture up there in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center, me holding up the briefcase. So.
Right.
Figure it out.
And did John present you the belt that night or title? What is it called nowadays? I don't even know what it's called anymore.
Well, the title that I won that night was the World Heavyweight title. That's the old like Sting Flair belt. So I don't know what that's been redone to something else now. So I don't WWE wise, I don't know.
Cool.
You know, that night I was visiting our family back in Cleveland, and I said, "Hey, I think Nick might be on tonight," and we turned it on right as that match was starting. It was just perfect timing.
Might be on.
So, yeah. Well, you never know when you're on or not.
That's true. You never know.
It was great. It was, the European crowds come in for WrestleMania and then they stay, and the atmosphere is just incredible. Wow. It's just so much fun. So it's the perfect time to cash in. And one of the greatest moments I've ever seen in wrestling. It was absolutely incredible. So much fun.
And it's really no joke. It was the fans, because whether they're coming from overseas or a big Mania weekend, or they planned, like, I met so many fans that weekend during like the Access. They're just like, we plan this out every year. We dedicate 5 days to this trip. We either drive down, or we save up all year for this. And we're going to go meet the New Day on Thursday. We're going to do this thing on Friday. We're going to go to SmackDown. We're going to do this comedy show afterward. And they do the whole weekend. And some people go, man, we went through 7 different days of stuff. We got to get out of there before Raw. And they're like, I can't believe we left before it. But the reason that reaction and that moment happened was 100% the fans. Like, at the time, I was the guy with the briefcase that always kept trying to cash in, would catch like a bro kick or something in the face. And it got to a point to where they thought that they were either going to take it off of me, or when I came to cash in, that I wasn't going to get it. I was going to like lose the match or something. But the reason the crowds were so great, even leading up to that, was Vince at the time said, listen, I know you lose a lot. And I go, well, about 99% of the time. But anyway, I know you lose a lot. He goes, and now with this briefcase, you're going to lose even more, and it's going to be a bigger deal. But the next day after you finally cash this in, everything changes. So we did that. We kept more and more and more. Finally cash in. I was like, man, I hope this crowd's into it. They seem kind of lively and fun. And I never forget my music hit, and it was a 2-second delay, and it just like prickers all over my body. I went, whoa, what? And I still had to stay focused and be in the moment and walk down there to do it. But I've never heard anything like that, in person ever. And it was because they stuck by the guy who kept losing and kept failing to cash in. And they said, all right, we're going to help this guy. And they did, and we got it. And they lost their minds. It was so fun. That 3 minutes, I had to beg for that, because the boss wanted me. We had an injured good guy, which is Alberto Del Rio, who can't walk. And he has a broken ankle from Swagger. And I'm coming down to the place is so excited. And it's like, okay, some people, it's like they had a good weekend and they're from overseas and they want to see a title change. And some people were like, hey, maybe I don't like Del Rio, even if he's a good guy, but I don't like Swagger, but what do I do? And some people were like, yes, we kept this alive by cheering for this guy, even though he lost all the time. And we're going to will him into this. And the boss wanted me to just hit him with a briefcase and pin him. And I begged all day, and it ended up, Jamie Noble ended up helping me through this. Was like, I go, boss, as being as candid as I can, I lose all the time. They're expecting me to lose. Can we take them on a roller coaster first? And he goes, okay, one. And then I fought, and I ended up getting like 2 false finishes for him and 1 for me. But I go, it all made sense. The story was there. Del Rio played the part beautifully. And the place lost their minds. And then, of course, the boss did say, starting after that day 1, after that, We'll get you after that whole clean slate. You start winning. That very first day I lost in like 6 minutes to Swagger, but I'll never lose that moment from the crowd. I'll never, ever forget it. And I haven't seen anything like that in person ever.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Hey,
those crowds they want to have fun. Some crowds are like smart crowds. They just they want to be part of the show. Some crowds want to, they want to either hijack the show or be part of the show. Those crowds just want to be fun. They want to enjoy it. They want to be part of it, but they also want to be part of the atmosphere. I mean, they enjoyed that as much as you did. I did too. I'm sitting there in commentary. I couldn't believe it. It was shocking how loud that place was.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. That weekend is so special. The crowds come out, and you mentioned access. I always enjoyed sitting at those access places, asking people where they come from. They had different accents that you get. Man, I'm amazed every time I go, and I've been to every one of them. Just seems like, and they just get bigger and more worldly than ever. But you're sitting there, you hear this accent. Where you got it from, man? Then they tell you your story. It's so much fun. But you're right. You're right enough. They want to be a part of the crowd. They've heard the history of those Monday night crowds, and they don't want to be outdone. So they're trying to be part of the history. And hey, can you top the last year's crowd? And they usually do. They get so into it. It's got to be great for a talent in the ring that night. Just electricity. I mean, your body's just got to rise to the occasion, and your mind along with it. There.
And you're right. There's such a special crowd. And at the time, some of them would go, "This is our one WWE show for the year." We make it. We either came from Iowa or Arkansas or Scotland, and we're flying in and we're doing this whole thing. And they want to be a part of something special. So even an average show becomes above average, and a great show becomes some of the greatest reactions in the entire world. And that perfect storm of kind of taking them up and down, because I could have hit him with the briefcase and pinned him and they would have been like, yeah, but we got to go down like, he's gonna lose, they're gonna make him lose, are you kidding me? And then took it back, and then he's gonna tap out. Not only is he losing, he's gonna tap. Like, it was so fun to go through that with them and then feel them lose their minds when I got to it. The coolest thing I've ever been a part of, and I don't know that anything is a close second.
When you take them on that roller coaster.
How tough is it sometimes to trust Vince when he says that? He goes, "We're gonna have you lose a bunch," because he's done that with me too. I'm getting killed here. He goes, no, it's gonna be bigger than it's gonna be. You're thinking, okay, I think he knows what he's doing.
Yes,
if he's like wrong this one time.
Yeah, like, of course,
I get
it's gonna be me. Yeah. It's like he goes, "Oops, my bad," and you're like, "No, that was me. That was the one time. It's me."
Or what if he just forgets? He just forgot what the plan was.
Yeah, like, hey, wait a second. Remember you said? And I did go, "Hey, boss, remember what he said?" He started laughing. He goes, "Oh, don't worry. We're after this one." I went, "Okay, so this is the carrot on the stick forever." Okay, I got it. No problem. I got you. I'll be there.
Yeah. Well, that was certainly one of the highlights there. But take us back to the beginning of Dolph Ziggler, Nic Nemeth, when I first met you in Cleveland, Ohio. You'd just been, I think, turned down in Ohio Valley or something like that. And our mutual friend, our guy that all of us respect and know, Tadaki Hada,
yes,
who was a mentor to you, and one of my old teammates from Oklahoma State. He brought you out to Cleveland. Kind of, did you always want to be in professional wrestling, you guys? And did you guys have all the little JBL dolls, as they call them in Texas? Out here in Oklahoma, in Florida, we call them action figures. But
right.
JBL always, my doll. You always played with dolls.
I had a JBL effigy. I called it an effigy.
Poking it with needles and stuff. I think it's like the difference in soda and pop on the population. It's like it's toys or action figures in the different part of the country. My dad took me to a show when I was 5, and I have a weird birthday. So I was in first grade because of summertime birthday, but I was 5 years old. Most of my friends were 6. And I went to a show, and it's hard to explain to a bunch of people. You guys get it. But now people think it's like, oh, it's an LED display. There's music and all this stuff. When I went, it was probably Pat Patterson or you or Lanza playing a record player. And then someone comes through a black curtain, and that's it. And we were so far away that I couldn't even tell who was who till Hogan came. There's 2 matches that I remember. It's the intermission match was a steel cage, and it was the Hart Foundation versus the British Bulldogs. And so I'm thinking this is like maybe 85, 86. And And then the main event was King Harley Race versus Hulk Hogan. And that's the only stuff I remember were those, because I just have these stills in my head. But I watched, and
were you a Hulkamaniac? Did you go around like that for a weekend?
Oh, I wanted to get I wanted the weight set, the sand weights that he was selling, and it was like a Body by Jake machine and some sand weights or something. But I go, man, this is great. I want to do this. And my dad said, all right, I'll sign you up for wrestling. Like, let's go. So at 5, I wanted to do it. I started wrestling. No joke. I use this in stand-up sometimes. Like, I walked into the first practice. I was like, oh, there's no ring. There's no ropes. Everyone's sitting on the chairs, not swinging. I'm like,
no steel cage anywhere.
No, there's not one cage. I go, what the hell is this? He goes, this is what you got to do. And if you get good enough, maybe you get a shot. Okay. So I stuck with it the whole way. And eventually I did through grade school and high school. And at the time, with like, you know, badass, I get to wear this hat because you'll understand. It's a St. Edward's wrestling hat. And that's where,
and by the way, that's a great video they just put out on Saturday. Our friend Yoshi sent me a copy of it. Man, that's a great man. You were awesome. I couldn't believe that was you.
I'm all right. And
what
especially,
do you mean you can't believe that was him?
Well,
he was winning.
He got the damn pen record at Kent State University too. I don't know if you still have that record, but I know at the time
I had an unofficial pin one at St. Ed's, but I think that I have no idea. There's like no official record there. But at Kent State, I had the all-time wins, but it eventually got taken over a few years later. But the whole point of I'm going to get this. I'm going to get the all-time wins was so Vince could Google my name in 2003 and go all-time winningest wrestler at Kent State because, you know, 5'11", 100, I was wrestling 165. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to have a shot here. But I go, if he can Google my name and the first thing is all-time winningest wrestler, then at least I got a shot. So that was the whole plan. And even at St. Ed's, Tadaki Hata, who was so awesome and so great, nice to me, there was a little bit of a stigma then for people who don't understand St. Edward's, they weren't state champions when I was there. They were national champions. 2 of the 4 years I was there, national friggin' champions. Like, that's insane. Like, people are like, oh, state champs, it's pretty cool. Like, the nation. So it is a badass school for wrestling. I was on a team loaded with killers. I was an okay guy. I got 5th at state. We had 5 or 6 champs. So many people went on to become All-Americans in college, national champions. Gray Maynard, MMA fighter, friggin' Andy Robot went to the Olympics. Like, we had killers on this team, and it was so fun. But there was a stigma then, even though Kurt Angle was just getting going, it was just like, oh, you want to do the phony stuff, we're doing the real stuff. And I go, yeah. And people kind of got it, and mostly, you know, for the most part, we're like cool about it. But there was a stigma of like, yeah, that phony stuff, you know, whatever, that's fine. But most of those guys who said it that way, I beat them, so it's no big deal. So the whole point, and I even told Coach Hata, who was so hands-on, he helped me so much in amateur wrestling. I said, my whole goal here is to be awesome at wrestling and then be awesome in college and then get a shot at WWE one day. And he goes, if you can stick with it and do good through college, possibly, maybe one day I'll ask my buddy Brisco and we'll bring you in for a show and you can at least watch it. I'm not saying anything's going to happen, but at least you get to watch a show, probably get good tickets and say hello at the end. And that's what happened. And the rest is history after that. I got a friggin' tryout. And the tryout was with Bobby Lashley and myself.
Wow.
And I saw him and went, shit. I go, this is my lifelong dream. And you're a human action figure. Yeah. And I go, I already know who's winning this. We don't have to go to the tryout. And of course he got hired. Big surprise. And they said, hey, get a little bigger, you know, try and come back. So I tried mixing powdered milk with 2% milk and drinking it every 2 hours. And all it did was just make my stomach stick out and I gained like 3 pounds. But they just wanted to see that I would try. I'm like, hey, did you get bigger? Did you get oh, yeah, I went. I got some matches in. I got some training. I gained like 14 pounds. All a lie, but they went along with it. They said, hey,
14 is a good number to use.
14. It's not real.
It's not real.
15, 20.
Not,
that seems
15,
fake.
Not 15.
Yeah, 15. That's 2 on the dot. Yeah. You got to, I already getting into a good lie of being a good liar for my
14
job.
means you must have really checked the scale. That's real. Yeah.
and then on that second tryout, I got it. But oh man, Coach Hada, who's so cool and he's so slick. Like he's still rolling around at those times with me and like teaching me stuff. What a badass mentor guy. Help me get a hold of you, get a tryout, like, and the rest is history. It's so great. And that Clash of Dynasties things that's coming out with St. Ed's and Walsh Jesuit that only some people who understand high school wrestling, they were like 1 and 2 in the state and fighting for national numbers. We had a nice rivalry with them too. And there's a really cool special by Ben Hada and Yoshi putting together some stuff too. That's coming out, and it's actually in like a month.
And by the way, Ben's the one that produced that Angle documentary that we see the WWE bought from Ben.
Oh, awesome! That's great. Yeah. Dude, and Angle's a absolute badass. My favorite. So
yeah.
And
Ryan, I mean, you're probably like me. My older brother was a star in wrestling too. You always felt you had to keep up with him. You always had to work your ass off and things like that. How was it following your brother?
Well, it was in high school pretty great because when I joined the wrestling team, all the other freshmen kind of got picked on and stupid nicknames and whatever. But a lot of the kids, the seniors, would have been on Nick's team when they were freshmen. So they were like, "Oh, you're Nick's brother? All right, we like that guy." And so I did not get my ass kicked before practice started. I still had to do. The freshmen still had to mop the mats, for ring warm and all that before and after. But no one was like throwing basketballs at my crotch or head.
now, John, listen to what he said. Now, here's a national, not a state championship, as Nick was saying, but a national championship caliber team. We're the only sport, wrestling, the only sport in collegiate or high school where the contestants have got to take care of their own equipment. They got to mop the mat. They got to roll them up.
Roll them all up. Yep.
Roll them up afterwards. I don't care how big a win it is. You still got to get out there on your hands and roll the damn things up and chug them back into the wrestling room before you can leave. We're the only sport that has to do that. Football players, they don't have to go out and chalk the football field or anything like that. Or the basketball players go out and set the goals at 10 foot. But we had to set up our own damn equipment, right, Ryan? And as freshman, you got to do all that crap.
Now, this was news to me because I thought every sport was doing something like that.
Just rolling up turf.
Oh, man.
The worst part, except for a couple random schools, no cheerleaders.
Oh, no cheerleaders. Yeah.
Once in a while, there was a school and they would have to sit on the mat.
Homecoming, they would send a cheerleader, but no pep band or anything like that.
Well, the other schools that we would wrestle against would have a girl who would tap the ref for the time, but ours would be a guy because we were an all guys school. We had no girls in our school, so it was just a dude. So not even that.
not even a cheerleader.
The cheerleader was a dude.
Well, our only cheerleader was a guy.
We had one, but also, we couldn't get any eye candy, nothing in the crowd, nobody's sisters. Yeah, you never know. No respect.
I played against John Randall in college, and Randall goes on to Minnesota, and he was the same thing. They got to Minnesota, and here was this guy who had set all these Division II sack records in college, and they told him, said, "You've got to gain weight or we're going to cut you." And so he literally he couldn't gain weight. He was already huge and muscular, but he wasn't that tall. So he got a weight belt and put it underneath him. And on cut day, he went in, they weighed, and he gained like 20 pounds or gained 14 pounds.
14. Yeah. Genius move. That's the number.
And so they said, "Okay, great. You worked so hard." And then he becomes a 10-time All-Pro and he makes the Hall of Fame.
Man.
And still weighs the exact same he weighed when he was in college.
When I was at FCW, which then became NXT, we would weigh in every Monday. I don't know why they were weighing us for pro wrestling, to be honest, but we had to do weigh-ins. And
right. It's a visual sport, and they lie about weights anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, but one of the coaches would give me and Trent Beretta a hard time about, "Man, you guys don't weigh that much," and Tyler Breeze, and I would think, this isn't real. The weights, I'm whatever I say I am. So I would get in line for the weigh-in and I would hold 2 chairs and I would just walk on the scale and he was just ready with a clipboard to go, "Okay, wow, you gained some weight." And I'm just holding these steel chairs thinking, "Yep, I gained weight." And I walked off because that's how much it mattered,
14 pounds, exactly.
7
pounds each chair.
No way trick. I used to have a guy stand behind me, put his finger on my butt, and push it down. That scale, "Hey, boy, you know good this week. You gained some weight." And jump off before he realizes.
Brian, who was the coach?
Tom Pritchard.
Really?
Yeah.
It was him, Norman Smiley, and Dusty Rhodes, Ricky Steamboat, Joey Mercury back then. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
And those guys
you
were
had a
worried
hell of
about
a
weight.
class.
Well, I don't think that they were worried about the weights. I think someone in the office was saying we need to do, because I don't think Dr. Tom cared about the weights.
No, no way.
Tom doesn't seem the type to be that cares about much of anything.
He probably got an email, or somebody told him he got an email and then printed it out and showed it to him. And then he was like, "Hey, every Monday you got to check these guys up." Like, yeah, I'll get to it. Like I love that we all cheated because I was doing the same thing because I came in from wrestling 165 and they're like, "You better be over 200 pounds." I was like 192. So I would take one of these and drink the entire thing before I got on. And sometimes I would put a 10-pound weight in my pants. I would get out there and I'd be like 204. Like, here we go. And then I just had to leave practice every 15 minutes to pee for the next 2 hours. But yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, that's funny as hell because I saw Dave Batista weigh 300 pounds. He got on the scales. He had a 10-pound weight stuffed down his back of his pants. Now, why, Dave? Come on, you already weigh 300.
Like, you don't need to. That's for us to do, not you.
Because there's such a big difference between 290 and
like, oh yeah, sorry, you're not believable as a killer at 292. No way.
As a rib, one time they wanted to weigh Big Show. I mean, it's a total rib. It was a total rib. They weighed all the boys just so they could justify weighing Big Show. It was just a rib, and so all the boys put together like a $10 to see who guessed the correct weight.
Oh my god!
And so. Jeff Hardy guessed like 1,268 pounds. And Big Show found the sheet and he got mad at it.
Of course he did.
1,268.
1,268.
He guessed like 1,268 or something. It was like every weight between 450 and 550 was taken almost. And Jeff Hardy just like, you know what, 1,268.
I'll take the over. Yeah, I'll take the over.
1,268. That's another realistic sounding number.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like a 1,300. I mean, he had a specific number in mind that he thought he was.
Well, when they announced my weight, they always announced me at 223. I said, why can't I be 225? Well, they wouldn't believe it, but they don't believe 223.
It's all coming together now. I love. By the way, they check in our weights.
Wrestling, guys. That's pro wrestling.
Yeah, they check in our weights and go, "Oh, you're 192. Got it. 213 and 6'2". Got it. Write it down. Yep. Yes, sir.
So, Ryan, were you the same when you were growing up? Did you always want to be a pro wrestler?
No. I was into the other things like, writing, drawing. I got into acting and comedy and stuff as I got older. I always loved watching wrestling. I thought it was the most fun thing to watch. And as a family, that was a lot of our family outings would be going to the house shows or going, just watching wrestling. And I loved it. But no, I never saw that as like an actual viable career. I knew probably that Nick would be a wrestler because he was so set on it. And I thought, yeah, he'll probably somehow get that to happen. But then I went to college at Xavier University. I was in Cincinnati while he was in OVW. And so I would go Wednesday nights to go watch his, Wednesday night TV tapings there. And I wrestled in high school, but then I joined the rugby team in college. So I would take we were off on Wednesdays, and to my buddies, I would say, you want to go drive down an hour away and go see Nick wrestle? So we would load up somebody's car full of just, rugby players, I guess, idiot guys who just wanted to go see wrestling. And whether you had a match or not, we would stay for the whole show and just go nuts. And it was the best. And when I would see it in that smaller format, because, other than seeing the random ECW show in Cleveland or something, I had only seen big WWF wrestling or WCW wrestling on TV. And so to see the smaller scale version of what would be, OVW, the Davis Arena, which was maybe it holds 400 people. I don't know. It's just a much smaller. But you would see people from SmackDown and Raw who were there. You would see Nick having his first few matches. It was really magical to me. And I was at the time doing a lot of stuff on stage and comedy or film or whatever. And I was kind of heading that way, but I also was athletic playing rugby. And there's something about seeing the combination of theater, carnival, athletics, and everything all together in that little small. And I don't mean to downplay the size of OVW, but that is small compared to WWE and WWF. I started to think, man, maybe Nick is onto something here because he's doing, and I really did start to privately think that. And then when he would be in Tampa, I'd go visit there, and he would meet up when I would move to Chicago. He would be doing a show and we would talk about it. And he He didn't. I think definitely he didn't want someone just coasting in, going, "I'm Nick's brother. Can I work here?" Of course not. And I didn't want to do that because many reasons. You don't know if it's the thing that's really. I don't know if I really can do this. So I said, "What should I do?" And I think he kind of said, "I recommend going to Lance Storm School or training with Rip Rogers and OVW." And it just seemed easier to not move to a different country in Canada. So
Yeah.
So I think one day I was in Chicago and I came home or came to where my girlfriend lives and I said, "Hey, I think we have to have a talk," and she said, "Let me guess. You're gonna you're gonna leave Chicago and become a pro wrestler and work with your brother." And I said, "We don't have to talk." Okay.
That's like running away.
Little fist bump and
right?
a car waiting outside.
So then I did. I did a tryout at OVW and I won a scholarship for Rip's class. So I was doing beginners class twice a week, advanced class twice a week, and we had 3 shows every week too, 1 TV taping and 2 house shows. So I was also working a day job at a gym. So I was waking up at 4 a.m. to work for 5 hours a day and then just wrestling every day, basically. And I would say back then OVW that was the right move. That was definitely the right move because you could do it as long as you needed to. And WWE and TNA and Ring of Honor were all coming every few months to like scout people. So that was just the place to be back then. I don't know what the place to be is now, but then that was, and I'm really glad I did that.
At least you had
I know you wanting to be an entertainer. You probably really appreciated the entertaining fact that you were learning that Nick had learned with professional wrestling, how to entertain, how to capture people and stuff. That had to be a valuable lesson to you.
Oh yeah, I didn't know any of that. I mean, it's different from growing up as a kid, seeing it on TV, and then hearing Nick say, "Hey, we have Vince telling us how a promo works, what it's comprised of, what the purpose of it, what it's for." And I got really, really lucky to have Dusty Rhodes as our head promo interview guy for like 3 years. That was just priceless.
Wow,
So good. Yeah.
And at least you started with a sane trainer in Rip Rogers.
I was going to say, we're not going to gloss over Rip, are we?
No, we can't. You can't gloss over Rip. It's impossible.
I realized that bringing him up to certain people can give positive or very negative results. You never really know. And I think he would be very aware of that.
Yes.
I think he works out.
Yeah, I think he enjoys that very much. Jerry and I love him. He's just batshit crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And we always learn new words when we're around.
It's unbelievable.
In between mostly C words, but yes, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Yes, that's I loved him so much, but also for the on and off time that I was there, he was fired and brought back 3 different times. So I was on and off there for a little over a year, and it was like, okay, if you want to get some extra time in, come to Rip's class. I'm done. I'll be there. And then a couple months go by, and they're like, "Hey, listen, just so you know, we've cut all ties with Rip Rogers. No one is permitted to be in his class." Got it. And then a few months later, like, Rip class is open if you want to go. I'm like, oh, it was so funny back and forth. And Ryan will have way better stories. I love him so much because he's crazy. But he told right away, he goes, "Listen, I'm not going to train you like WWE because when you get called up to that roster, you know what the proper way to do it is? Whatever the fuck Vince tells you to do is the proper way to do it." And he goes, "I'm going to teach you for when that year or 2 goes by and you're no longer with them and you want to make a living on the road doing independent wrestling. Here's the stories. Here's the chain wrestling. Here's what you need to do. Here's to have all the tools so you can make yourself a great pro wrestler. But the best pro wrestler is whoever the hell Vince says it is." And you go, "Yes, sir. You got it." I always respected that. Day one. Love that.
That's actually a brilliant opening from Rick. That actually makes perfect sense. I'm going to train you so you'll always have a job, but when you go to WWE, you have one guy to please.
Yep.
That's it. He would teach just these really specific movements and things to remember and do and just drill it. And if we didn't do it right, hit the ropes for 10 minutes or whatever, but I was kind of new and I would come in and go, "Hey, on Raw, this guy actually did this." And he would say, "Well, you know why? Because he's getting paid to. You're not." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Yeah. And he would put the hand up like that always. And I remember there was a guy who wanted to come to learn to be a manager. So he started coming to his classes. And his day job was he was a professional certified massage therapist, masseuse guy. And once Rip heard that, he was like, okay. Why don't you bring your table next time? And so
Yes.
I think we had a 3-hour class where he was just telling us what to do while face down, just getting massaged by this guy. And I thought, oh, all right, you're just getting free massages and teaching this guy how to be a manager, which is just looks strangely like just massaging you, on your back. But great to get free massages.
He knows his stuff. I learned every basic thing that you could keep, no matter it's 1980 or 2024. With putting a coat of paint on it, all of the stuff he taught completely applies, and it is for when you're not being told, here's how you wrestle today, and you got it for the rest of your life. You got this in your back pocket. I always loved that. He was great, but it was genuinely like, hey, if you want to do some extra stuff, go to his class. And then, hey, don't you dare be caught in this class or you're fired.
Yeah.
Got it. Hey, that class is open again. Like, yep, you got it. He's like,
who was firing him during that time?
You know what? I don't know, because it wasn't Wild West OVW, but there was a loose tie. Like Dr. Tom would come down and give us some stuff, but there wasn't just like constant like emails and live communication back and forth. So I don't know who was firing. It's got to be JR or Johnny, I guess, because I don't think. But I don't know. I don't think Vince was like, who's teaching him that?
During your time, it was Johnny.
Okay, there you go.
There was a great
Rip
time.
Constantly did something enough just to upset Johnny.
And this was like not PC times, and it wasn't like a direct. There was like probably no emails going back and forth. There's just probably like a check or a check minus next to someone's name every 3 months when they checked a yellow legal pad of paper or something. So there wasn't like that direct communication. Like, yep, stay out of there. Yep, go on in there.
We had this pretty great weekend where one day Johnny Ace came to scout people for WWE, and the next day Jim Cornette came. I think for Ring of Honor, definitely, but possibly also TNA. Wasn't sure exactly, but Johnny Ace came and talked to us, and he said, "Yep, I know Jimmy's coming tomorrow. I think he's a great guy, great mind for the business. I think he maybe doesn't like think too highly of me, but tell him I said hi." And then Cornette was there the next day, and he said, "Yeah, whatever that cocksucker told you, I wish his family would." I tell him I hope him and his family all. And I was like, whoa. And he was awesome. He wrote our TV every week too, and it was all handwritten and photocopied on Xerox machine, hung up there. And I thought, man,
yeah, because they didn't know how to use a computer.
Yeah, and I thought, well, everything here is a smaller version of WWE, so maybe is Vince handwriting thing? Probably not, But
so Cornette would handwrite television.
Handwrite it, it would be on the wall, and you would see if you had a match, and it was like to the second because of all the commercial breaks and timing. And I thought that was pretty wild to see, and great penmanship also.
Well, that's when you show up at OVW. When I did, it's like 2004. You walk in and you get handed. It's almost like a montage for like somebody's cramming for studying in a movie. You get handed these 12 videotapes, VHS video cassettes, and a big stack of papers that go along with it. And it's how he writes the TV. He's like, watch here at 7 minutes and 32 seconds where Jerry Lawler punches this guy and does his thing. And you watched all these tapes just to go in, and it has like his little notes on the side to like, this is one of the best promos I've ever seen. Here's the greatest match I've ever seen. Here's a shitty match. Do not do this at 7:22. Do not do this, motherfucker. And you're like, okay, yeah, I got it. And it was great. Cause this is old times. I had a VCR, and he'd play that. I would watch a couple matches and go to bed or something. But it got to a point where I was very new and I was doing a dark match. And it was one of those things where there was a mistake in the 6-minute match towards the beginning. And then we kind of forget about it, and we do this match, and we come to the back, and it was after a TV dark. So he lines us up, and he goes, you dumb son of a bitch. You did this, you don't know. You fucking, and he goes, like my first match. He goes, you ain't been here too long, but fuck you, you're fired too. Blah, blah, blah. And I go, so we go through this whole thing. I do not know that this is his nightly. That's how he says, hey, there was one mistake in your dark match. I didn't know that. So we get back. And so it was the end of the night, and a couple people are still left in the locker room. I'm just sitting there with my head in my hands. I go, I can't believe this. I've been here 3 months. I'm fired. I go, what do I do? And Johnny Jeter, who I think was the champ, he goes, what the hell? What happened? What's wrong? I go, he fired me. He goes, it's my dream. It's over. He's fired me. He goes, I've been fired 65 times by Jim Cornette, and I'm the champ here. I go, oh, okay, seriously? He goes, yeah. And then the next day, Cornette's like, You thought I was serious? And I was like, I've never seen someone in my life be more serious than when you said, you motherfucker, you're fired too. Like, I go, I did not know that was his way. And I was very new. And I go, oh my God. But again, like Rip, I've been very lucky. I got Rip. I got Cornette's brain to teach me that. And legit. And when he would write TV, there would be to the second and what to do. And I got to learn from Rip, Cornette, and Lance Storm and Al Snow. Like I got one of the greatest teaching, like almost hitting territories, but staying in OVW. Like what a win for me.
You know,
Hey, there was a time.
Good part about it. You got Cornette, Rip Rogers, who those guys are. I think they're just brilliant guys, both of them. Geniuses.
Absolutely.
But they can't.
And Lance in the ring too is a brilliant worker too in the ring.
Yep.
But they just can't play well with others. So you got all the benefits of these genius brains of guys who really can't probably make it in the corporate world.
Yeah.
There was a time when a local Louisville attorney wanted to sponsor some of our big shows, and Danny Davis was, of course, like, sure, and we'll even put you in the show as like a manager or something. And he was packing our Saturday shows with all of his friends and lawyer friends and whatever. It was good financially for the company, for OVW, but Cornette just like hated this guy so much.
Cornette hated somebody.
And so after one of the Saturday shows, and my bag was like, I had to go past his office to leave, and I had to wake up at 4 to go to my real job, and I was like sitting there like, all right, man, because he's just laying into him, and he's screaming, his face is turning purple, his veins are popping out. He's saying, I'm going to strangle you, I'm going to kill you, all this stuff. And a lot of the locker room sitting around laughing and liking it. The other people are leaving, but I'm so new, and I think I can't walk past, the door is open, like he would see me,
Yeah.
And I don't want to be. But eventually I think, man, I really have to, it's like 1 a.m. I have to leave. So I like slowly walk past, and in the middle of reaming him out, he turns to me like this and he goes, Nemeth, good stuff tonight. Right back. I'm going to kill you. And I thought, all right, sweet dude. Nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm free.
I thought I was done for.
I still see a t-shirt sometimes with fans of Cornette pissing on Britt Russo's grave. This is not the greatest. I don't know who put that out. I mean, Corny could have put it out. I have no idea.
Right.
It's just like the audacity it's awesome.
Oh man. Hey, I loved him so much, but also, I don't know how that works in a corporate setting or in real life anywhere. But man, I'm lucky I got that genius to teach me, and I got the best learning I could have possibly had. So
it probably couldn't be repeated again in our business because of the PC, because of HR and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
you're right. We all have these unique guys that pass through our careers, in the beginning, and you had some of the most unique ones down there in OVW. Tell us about how long were you in OVW, and how did you get the word that, hey man, I get to move up?
For me, it was I was there. I had 8 months or so, and this wasn't like, I'll explain. Like, it's not how it is now.
Who were some of the guys there with you?
Let's see. Oh, that's a great question. I mean, Lashley was there. He was killing it. Kenny Dykstra was there. He was friggin' 19 years old.
Your fellow cheerleader.
Cheerleader, yes. And it was mostly that group was built around like showcasing him, and we did. And like he was 19 years old, 6'2". He looked great. He started training at like 14 or 15, to where he was teaching me stuff about like backstage stuff that you're not taught in the ring, to like, and he knew this at 19 years old. I'm like, man, I'm lucky you're telling me this stuff. And he's killing it, and he looks the part. I'm like, man, he's going to be out of here. And so I got to learn from him. Last year was there killing it. There's a couple other, man, Alicia Fox, Barbie Blank. That was some fun people. And man,
was Randy Orton gone by then?
Yeah, he was doing TV stuff. But Mondo, the other Spirit Squad guy, who was also teaching me the times I wasn't allowed to go to Rip's class legally. Mondo Mikey had the keys to the place, so once he was done, we were allowed to sneak in there. But we really snuck in there while he was teaching. Whatever, it's fine. But I had all these cool people that were just it was not quite. There was no check-in every week or day with like an email or a closed circuit TV. It was just like, I really think it was just Dr. Tom would call once a month and go, hey, who sucks, who's fat, who's not making it, like anything. And we got to a point where they said, I got a phone call that said, we really like what you're doing. You're a clean cut guy, amateur wrestling. Kurt Angle's doing great right now. We're looking into something to where, you know, you'd be his, like, he'd be mentoring you. I'm like, this is a dream come true. I go, oh my God, Kurt's the best. I go, this is great. Yeah. I'm like, you got it. They like short hair. You go, don't get any tattoos. I go, you got it. And then I'm practicing and just, I'm going through, I'm like, man, this is going to be it's going to be like the movie with Chuck Norris and the kid doing karate. I was like, oh, this like, I go, this is going to be like a real life. Like, I get to work with my mentor and like learn from him. This is going to be great. And then I got a phone call that says, hey, tomorrow you're flying to TV.
Wow.
You're a golf caddy. Try and find some golf clothes. It's like it was Sunday afternoon. I was flying. It's Saturday night at like 10 p.m. I go, golf clothes. I go, what is that? He goes, I don't know. Good luck. And I think it was Dreamer. And he like hung up. And I go, okay. And so I went, I go, hey, Lashley, do you play golf? Like, what are they? He's like, okay. I got 2 polo shirts and a pair of like khaki pants and some shoes and brought it there. And it was just like, I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to like, Chavo Guerrero is not playing Chavo Guerrero. He's playing Kerwin White. And I'm going to be his golf caddy. And they're like, hey, you guys would be cruising around in a golf cart, like beating everybody up. I'm like, this sounds great. He drove the golf cart and I walked behind with the clubs over my shoulder. and we had a couple like Sunday night heat matches and then one TV, like one Raw. And then just as we were kind of getting moving with some stuff, Eddie passed away. And when he passed away, it was like, this gimmick is over. Chavo's going back to being Chavo. He's got a lot of stuff he's got to take care of. And then he's going to come back and be Chavo. So he goes, and I don't know how the business works. And I go, oh, am I fired? Do I still work here? They're like, yeah, we'll figure something out for you. And so again, the day they found Eddie passed away, we were about to go overseas for 2 weeks. And they said, Chavo's staying back to take care of everything for the family. We're going to figure something out, but we're still sending you on this 2-week overseas tour. I go, I barely know how to like break somebody's back. I go, I'm barely able to grab a foot. And as a manager, I'm 6 months in. I know a headlock and everything else I can kind of do, but it would look like a beginner that just came out of wrestling practice. They go, don't worry. We'll have you manage somebody, do something simple. Just go over there. We'll take care of this. And the whole flight over, I was like nervous. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have any friends. Chavo's not with me. I have no friends. And I'm like, I don't know anybody. And we get to, and Ricky Steamboat and Fit Finley are the agents. And let's say the show's at 7:30, Leipzig, Germany. I'll never forget. Show's at 7:30, around 7:10, Fit comes up to me and says, hey, it's you and Tajiri, opening match. Keep it under 15 minutes, him up. And he walks away. And I go, I don't know what most of those words mean. What? Wait, what? What's happening? I don't know how to wrestle. And then he turns around, he's laughing, comes walking back. I'm like, thank God. He goes, he doesn't speak English. Anyway, good luck. And he walked out for real. And I go, what? And I have like 15 minutes to find him, do something. And like, I don't know what I'm doing. Normally you open the show with a babyface music. So, but we get, not only that, we get a heel music of the heel who is playing a different character who is not there. And the guy in a golf shirt with a little white bib on top of it comes out waving that you've never seen on TV in your life. I'm opening our big show. And then I go, crickets would have been great. I would have heard some noises.
Wait, you don't even have a golf cart or the clubs. You just are dressed.
I just have the shirt and like a bib over it that looks like I would be holding a flag while somebody putted. And it makes no sense. And they're playing like an old Frank Sinatra song because that's what the music was. And everyone's like, what is this? And I go, I didn't even get like a who are you champ. They're just like, what's happening? Is this the show? And thank God Tajiri's music hits. The place goes nuts. I'm like, oh, thank God. I still don't know how to wrestle, but I go, all right, we'll figure something out. I was just like, well, I'm like, we're going to get to a bunch of his kicks. I'm going to kick him in the stomach and put a hold on him and then we'll go home or something, whatever. I wish there was footage because it's so bad. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I would just rake his back and then put a headlock back on him. Like, is it almost time for you to kick me a bunch? So we get through it. We do all this thing. And then finally, like, his kicks are like whap, whap. And like, everyone's going nuts. And then finally the big one, and he pins me 1, 2, 3. I'm like, that had to be so embarrassing. I come to the back. And they're like, yeah, that wasn't great, but you'll have some more time to figure some stuff out. I'm like, okay. I'm like, let me know what you need me to do. I'll just be there. And it was basically me. I did a hold or two, and then he just did a bunch of different kicks, and a big one was the end. And First, when Fit goes, he doesn't speak English. So I'm like, maybe this, maybe that, whatever. And I was like, hey, thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm new. I suck. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. And he's like, yeah, no problem, kid. And he like walked away. And I went, wait a second. He had spoke some English on accident for a second, and it was beautiful. But then after that, it was like, okay, like I didn't like, we got to work on some other stuff, and they put me in a couple 3-ways where I was just kind of there. And I was like, I was so scared and so bad. But by the end of the tour, Steamboat and Fit said, listen, you've even learned a bunch on this week. Just so you know, Chavo, that gimmick is over. It's done. But there is a group of 4 or 5 guys that Vince is putting together, and we put your name in there because we saw that you improved even on this week here with us. I'm like, whoa, okay, great. But I still didn't know what the hell was happening, but it was becoming the Spirit Squad in a few months.
Hey, Jerry, the Kerwin White was the name was a rib on Kerwin Sifley's, right?
Kerwin Sifley's, our producer, our director.
Yeah, that was all a rib on Kerwin. You know, Kerwin, when Vince went down to Pennsylvania, he started taking over, wanted to hire a producer. He walked in, this was 30-something years ago, and Kerwin was wearing a suit, and Kerwin was just like the salesman. And he goes, oh, are you the one that Vince did? Yes, I am. And
yes,
Kerwin,
I am.
That's the job. He's been with WWE for 40 years or whatever.
That's the best. I love that.
Yeah, and Kerwin just happened to be wearing a suit. And when they said, are you the guy we're looking for? Kerwin goes, yes, I am.
Yes, I am. That's better than those old Bud Light commercials. Like, are you so? Yes, I am. That's what another thing you're told. Rip and Cornette is like, hi, can you ride a motorcycle? Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Someone teach me to ride a motorcycle?
Yeah,
like, yes.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing. Can you skydive and land on this head of the pin? Damn straight. I'll see you on Monday. Yep.
Like, Rip would tell us that about Santino.
We asked Layfield one time if he could ride a horse. He said, yes, I can. And he rode a horse out, and the damn horse took a bump on him.
The horse took a bump. Yeah, it did. It took a bump during rehearsal. Almost killed me.
That horse wasn't using that much ass on his back.
Finally, when they come to the back and see this horse laying on top of me, the horse is laying on top of me. Vince comes over and goes, what'd you do to that horse? Damn thing, that horse almost killed me.
I punched it out. Sorry. Yeah. What'd you do to that horse?
I told him, sit, lay down.
That's right. I told him.
We're gonna have to pay for that horse now. Brisco, go buy a new horse.
I've seen you go takedowns in the gorilla position before. So we have.
I've been known to do that a time or two. So Ryan, you remember your first match, how it went and everything?
Oh, it was my first match was against with Bull Payne.
Oh,
yeah. Well, it was somewhere in Indiana. I was just assumed I was again building the ring and tearing down the ring and maybe doing ring security or something. And then whoever was in charge that night came over and said, it's you and Bull Payne. It's going to be 7 minutes or whatever. And I said, wait, I don't know how to wrestle yet. And he said, nah, he's been around a while. Don't worry. And Bull Payne, he looked like a biker guy, and he wore a giant padlock chain and lock around his neck.
An older guy, right? Much older.
He was. Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know Bull Payne. He was.
Yep. Okay.
He was one of Killer Tim Brooks' buddies, Jerry, down in. I don't know if you ever wrestled much in Texas, but him and Killer were friends.
Okay.
So he said, how long have you been working? I said, I've just been here a few months. I'm just training. I'm very new, but I'll listen and do. I know the basic things. I can sell. And he said, can you do that thing where you hop up from the apron to the rope and jump off? And I said, no, I can't do that.
Absolutely not.
He said, yeah, all you young guys can do that stuff now. Can you hit me with one of those? And I said, I can't do it. He meant just, boing, boing. I said, no, I can't.
Oh, just one of those.
And he said, are you sure? Can you do it? I'm like, I really can't, man. I can't. He goes, okay, don't worry about it. It'll be all right. And then we went out there, and he chopped me in the corner, and he goes, turn me around. Give me some chops. And I'm just like, okay, I said I would listen. So I turn around, and I chop right on the lock. Because he's still wearing the chain of the key. And I go, and he goes, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, yeah.
It's all part of his plan.
You got me, man. Yeah. So at some point, he goes, I'm going to suplex you. I'm like, okay. And he suplexes me. And I just sell, and then he goes, we better go home. You're freaking out. We better go home. And then he just
freaking out.
Yeah. And I thought, well, I couldn't do much beyond that, but I wasn't really freaking out. But he did get me with the chop. The chop thing was pretty good,
That's
Anyway,
an old guy that didn't want to work.
yeah. And then afterwards,
hey, you're freaking out. I need to go over now before your heat.
yeah. So afterwards, it seemed like everyone else in the show thought it was really funny. Like I was being ribbed, and I thought, okay, I get it. No one, okay, yeah, all right, that's fine. But he was very nice to me and cool. So thanks, Bullpen. Appreciate it. It was in just over the bridge somewhere in Indiana, and not many people were there. And yeah.
And when did you go from, say, OBW to where you went to TNA? And
we had it's that weekend that Johnny Ace came down to check people out. We all had matches and we all cut promos, and then it's very confusing. I think Nick will remember my point of view on this one because I was asking him what this meant. He came over to me afterwards and said, "Do you like living in Kentucky?" And I said, "It's okay. I moved here for this." And he said, "You ever go to Florida, like Tampa, Florida?" And I said, "I've been there once. I liked it a lot." He goes, "Would you ever consider moving there to work for us?" And I said, "Definitely yes."
Yes.
And he said, "What do you weigh? How tall are you?" All right, cool. I think that's a good idea. We'd like
6'3", 1,268 pounds.
That's right. That's right.
So he said, "How would you like to come work for us?" Like literally said that, and I was like, "Is this how it happens?" Yeah, I would love to. And we shook hands, and then I think right afterwards, maybe I called or texted you and said, "I think he just said he wants to send me to FCW and hire me." And then I think you said, "I'll talk to him Monday." And then I think you said, I asked him about it. He said he didn't know what I was talking about. I was like, okay. All right. So I was waiting for like a contract to come in the mail that never was coming, and then,
God. I thought he was like joking around with you. That's
no,
real.
you said you asked him and he didn't know what you were talking about.
No idea.
But everybody saw us talking. He said it to and you were like, "Just be cool, just be cool." And then at some point, it was a month and a half later, Kristen Altman called me and said, "We'd like to have you come for a tryout at FCW." And I thought, okay, cool. But I thought I already did the tryout. But of course I went, and it was, man, that was a great week, really great week. Who is the coolest to me there, probably of people that were actively in FCW, or I guess they were on the NXT game show, Husky Harris, Bray Wyatt. We were doing some man in the middle drill that week. And I think he looked at me and thought, "Man, this you're a little nervous." He goes, "Hey, don't freak out, don't breathe heavy, just go slow. Everything's totally cool." And I thought, well, that's nice because I'm trying out to theoretically be your competition here. So the fact that everyone here was basically, and West Briscoe, everybody was very, very cool to me there. And I don't know if that was because Nick was my brother or if they were just cool because they just wanted, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I thought this is cool because I always hear how cutthroat and brutal
Yeah,
is.
Wyndham was a great guy. Wyndham was a
He was awesome.
leader down there. That's how Wyndham and most of those guys that hung around West and all those guys that hung around here, they wanted new guys to take the heat off of them. So they were nice to you.
That's a great way of looking at it.
And I love that. It was the time kind of before it became, NXT as a brand. That was like such a great group of people there. And they were all key parts of that. Yeah, the Rotunda brothers, Xavier Woods, all those dudes. It was great. The guys who would become the Shield and the Wyatt family. That was an awesome time there. I loved it. Yeah.
And Roman was there too at that time.
Roman, yep,
right?
He was there. Yep.
That was a hell of a crew there.
I was walking to a pool one time at a hotel there in Tampa, and a guy yells at me. It was late at night. The guy yells at me. He goes, "Hey!" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm the wrong one-legged guy." And I said, "I'm sorry, what?" And remember John Laurinaitis said hired the wrong one-legged guy. He's looking for Zach Allen. And I met the guy. He's a super nice guy. He's all jacked up. He was
yeah.
And
he was in FCW a little bit.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, I guess they hired him. They had to keep him for a while. I
But
don't know.
for a little bit, yeah. But I've seen him yell that to other people, like, "I'm the wrong one-legged guy."
Yeah, I was walking to the pool,
man.
and he's in the pool, and he goes, "I'm the wrong one-legged guy." And I said, "I'm sorry." I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, "Well,
What a way to go through life, right? I'm the wrong one-legged.
Yeah, and he goes, "Look at me, I'm all jacked up. They should have hired me." And I said, I don't know what you want me to say. And then, but like he pulled up, the leg, and showed me his leg was missing, which I didn't doubt him.
I need proof before I can say you're the
That's right.
wrong one-legged guy. Chambers. Last name is Chambers. I forget his first name, but he ended up being around there for a while. That's
Really?
so
He seemed
funny.
like a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's
the
jacked. Nice guy.
And the guy really he has a foundation now that he gives prosthetic legs to people that don't have both legs. He does a fundraiser, has bike-a-thons and stuff like motorbikes, and they go around. He lost his leg on a motorcycle accident, so he goes around helping people that recover from that type of injuries.
But how about this business is the only business where somebody hires the wrong one?
Yeah.
Somebody hires the wrong one, and then he lets everyone know that I'm the wrong.
That's right.
One-legged guy.
Speaking of the wrong guy, this is there's one time I was hanging out in the office with Dr. Tom after practice or in between or something, and they were kind of, I won't name any other names of who this was in case it's a sensitive story, but they were kind of talking about one of the new guys like not turning out so well as far as learning wrestling for 6 months. And someone was like, yeah, well, that was your guy. And then the other coach goes, no, that was your guy. And they're kind of all like pointing the blame on each other. And then they're all like, no, I wanted him over him, the guy we didn't hire. And it seemed like they all were wanting that other guy, and someone just wrote the wrong name on the
Oh man.
And I was sitting there thinking, I shouldn't know this. And this is, if you're a wrestler who's a teenager who's been trying, this is your dream, and you're in, Milwaukee training and hoping someday, and then you find out this is sometimes how things go, like, oh no, but it's just real life, there's
you can have a handshake that says you are our new recruit in FCW for WWE, and a handshake like I'll be there, and that doesn't mean anything. And someone
never heard of him. No,
well, I hired some guy named Brian Reynolds. That's kind of the same. Whatever. It'll be fine. It's like I've been trying for this for 25 years, and it's my dream. Okay, don't worry about
it. That's the human error of it. And you can see all their faces just go like, oh no,
that's the wrong guy.
Did you basically have the same coaching staff with Dusty still there, of course, and Kern and
Steve
Kern
and
all the guys? Yeah.
It was a great time.
So they were what a great coaching staff, and I mean Norman. Mm-hmm. I don't think Norman gets enough props from anybody. That guy is so good in the ring.
Awesome,
and has so much psychology up there. To me, he's one of the best trainers. And obviously, because he's been there all these years, he's still one of the last holdovers from the original crew down there. So.
And even though character doesn't matter, like he's a beloved guy by everybody that comes through. Not only do they say like I learned a lot, like hey, this guy was nice. When in a world where there's like Abyss exists and he's too nice to be in the business. Like there's like there's a handful of nice guys when everyone's trying to stab you in the back. It's like it's pretty great.
Norman,
I tell him, Norman, you're too nice of a guy. How the hell did you get in this business?
Hey, and Norman was over like crazy in Mexico before he got over in WCW. I mean, he was really over in Mexico in the early 90s.
That's awesome.
Norman
well, he was over in England too before he came over. I remember when they went over there for a while too, I believe. So he got
Dutch
over
Mantel used to drive Abyss crazy because Abyss is he is the nicest person in the world.
Too nice for wrestling.
He goes, Abyss is there's all my years only two things I've seen that you can't do. And Abyss go, what's that? He goes, baby face and heel.
Oh God! And then normally we'd all have a good laugh and like cheers a beer, but like you probably see Abyss like,
yeah, that's right.
It's like no, it's a joke. It's a joke. You're too nice, and like give him a big hug or something like that.
Norman will text me whenever it's blood day at NXT or at the PC, because when we would have the nurse come and do our blood draws, I am a big sissy with needles and I would pass out every time. And so eventually they said, well, you need to just go to a different room. Oh, wait, like you're distracting and you're causing a hold up. So he would come with me and go, hold my hand, motherfucker. And he was really very cool about it, whether I would pass out or not. He was always like, ready for it? Let's do it, brother. Okay.
So Norman would hold your hand during the blood test?
Yeah. And now he'll
good
text
man.
you.
Good
blood day today. Thinking of you. How's it going? Like, thanks, man.
Just shows a picture like doing one of those old Arnold strength trainers.
Yeah.
Hey, Dutch Mantel was the same way. Here's a Vietnam vet, and he couldn't take needles. He couldn't. He'd sit there and he'd go to pass out. He'd have the nurse have to put ice on his forehead. Here's this tough old guy.
Man. I thought I would be smart.
If I see the blood coming out, I get wheezy and I almost pass out. So
I look the other way. I gotta look the other way. Yeah.
I knew that lifelong. I know that's my problem. So the first time we ever had a blood day, they told us the day before, and I thought I can't be seen fainting by these guys.
Oh yeah, you're death sentence. Yeah,
I'm gonna show up early before the nurse even gets there, help her, and I'm in there helping her carry equipment and stuff, and trying to like get myself in the zone. And then as she's taking so long to set up, the whole roster's lined up behind me. So now instead of being secret, there's 80 people behind me.
Oh God.
And I start to think, oh no. And then she puts the rubber thing on my arm and I say, hey, would it be okay if I just talk to you about like dogs? And she goes, okay. And then my head just hits the table right there. And yeah, so then they're like, you can't do this with everybody else. Sorry.
You can't do this with everybody else.
I thought I was being slick, but
Did you guys ever think, I mean, there's been famous brother tag teams, since the oldest one ever, of course, the Briscoes.
Like 400, that's a black and white TV. Like,
yeah.
That's right.
True.
Yeah.
Pony Express.
Did you guys ever think about being a tag team? Well, you're both very good looking guys, funny guys, athletic guys. Did you guys ever think this is going to be our future?
When Ryan was doing FCW and IC stuff, and I was like, I bet we're gonna do something here. And then they made me cut my hair, and it was like shorter than Ryan's is right now and black. And then I go, wow, not only are we gonna be doing this, we look like twins I don't see it, but that we look barely related. But when we both have short black hair, we walk by each other, I went, oh my God, we look the same. So I go, 100% this is happening. And immediately. And then when it didn't, I go, okay, I'll rack up some single stuff. And then when the time is right, when we're out, possibly somewhere else or down the line, or Ryan gets called up, then we'll get to it. I was like, this will be the coolest thing ever. Like, yeah, we don't have that Hardy Boys chemistry because they've been working together for 40 years, but like we have this natural chemistry. And then we did a match or two at TNA, and I was like, man, we're already picking it up and figuring it out. I'm like, this is going to be great. Mm-hmm. So I think down the line, we're going to be doing some stuff, but at the moment, single stuff for both of us. And I need to rack up a few more dollars to save to pay off Ryan's student loans. And then we'll get going with everything else.
Hey, why did you decide to start winning matches suddenly? I wanted to ask that earlier because you're kind of...
Because he can. he can make that decision
now. Some people peak at like 28, 38, 50 for me. It's just, I just figured it out. I got it all figured out.
Because now
you said you put your hair back dark like Ryan. Wouldn't it? Because when I first met you, it looked like you just come out of the beauty parlor. This sounds like a beauty parlor question. But when did you dye your hair, bleach your hair blonde?
So for most of my life before wrestling, we had high and tight military flat tops. We go to Lou the Barber and what was the other one?
Lou the Barber.
Giuseppe Joe.
Yes, Giuseppe. Cabs, yeah. We had high and tight.
$100 Giuseppe. He had Joe.
He knew the deal. At Palmer, and he would do the hot shaving cream also. But we had high and tight, and then for as the caddy, short flat top. For the Spirit Squad, short flat top. And then eventually, when that ended, and I was doing something, I'm like, I gotta start growing my hair out. I'll bleach it up or whatever. But and then it started getting medium long, and then Vince said, "You have a credibility problem." And I said, yeah, I don't win most of my matches. And by most, I mean 9 out of 10. And he goes, that's not it. We need to cut your hair.
It must be something else.
It's your hair. It's not the booking. And I was like, boss, I'm not connected. I'm not attached to this hair. I don't mind cutting it. But if you're telling me the credibility is the hair and not me losing all the time, I have to put up a fight here. I know you're the genius and I'm the new guy. But I go, please. Let me switch a character. Let me try something different. Let me win one match.
Maybe he had never seen a long-haired wrestler before.
That could be. And
maybe
I tried everything, and I go, I'm not connected to this hair. I'm like, I don't give a damn. If you're shaving my head and I'm going to start winning, let's go. But I go, don't tell me the credibility is me being 2 and 47 instead of, oh, your hair is kind of long.
You know what? From the Road Warriors haircut to Bundy to Shawn Michaels, it really didn't seem to matter that much. I gotta agree with you on this one, Nick. I think Vince was wrong here.
Yeah, and I go, okay, but he goes, trust me. And I go, hey, if it's your idea, boss, I had to put up this fight, but damn it, let's go. And then they had me fight Santino, and he goes, I don't want any cool hip swivels. I want you to be a hard ass. no expression on your face. Okay. And I had like this match where it was like a boring match, and I just beat up Santino and hit moves and pinned him. And I got to the back and he goes, yeah, that's not it. And I went, well, boss, that's I got a year here before the hair grows back. And
Just
then
do
I think
the Chia Pet thing and grow it out real fast.
and I think 3 weeks later, Pat Patterson at the time was, sometimes he was around all the TV, sometimes he'd be gone for a month or come by. So he'd been gone for a week, and then 3 weeks later he showed up and he goes, what the hell? And then came out of the meeting. He goes, kid, have him dye your hair back to blonde. I go, yes, sir. So I got it back. And then it was like, I go, we have a year of waiting for it to grow out, but whatever, it's fine. So it was a scary 3 weeks, but it made no sense. And I'm glad at least Pat talked him back in to go, hey, when you walk to the back and go, boss, wasn't that shitty? And he goes, yep. All right. You're like, okay, I guess we're done with that. He goes, dye your hair back. Okay, let's go. So clearly it was the hair that was the issue, not
no doubt about it.
2 and 50. Yeah.
You know, the problem you had, Billy Gunn, we were in Japan one time. They stuck him with a wrestler who was horrible. And I'm not going to say his name because people know who he is, but Billy got a great match out of him. And he came back and I said, Billy, that was the worst thing you ever did. And he said, what do you mean? I said, because now they're going to stick you with everybody that can't work.
Oh, God.
And after that, they realized Billy could get over anybody. And they're just start sticking Billy with all these different people. They're like, I told you, Billy, you should have never made him look good. That's your problem, Dolph.
You know what? When I was 17,
matches, you can make anybody look good.
Yeah. So I was 17 years old backstage because Hada got us tickets one more time. And backstage even, and that was the one where randomly it was where Vince bought WCW, but Shane did that live telecast where he signed like, the name's McMahon, but it's Shane, brother. Like, oh, he owns WCW. That was live in Cleveland and somewhere in Florida, maybe Panama City. And it was in Cleveland. I go, this is crazy. But I think there was like a Velocity or a heat match before, and Billy Gunn, who I was a huge fan of, came back and he was talking to somebody, and he was just like, don't get too good at taking finishes because that's all you'll be effing doing. And I was like, he makes it good. I'm like, I don't care. I just want a job. But he wasn't talking to me. But I go, damn it. Yeah, that's a thing that happens. And then you got to a point a couple years into where it's like, they love seeing me take a bro kick. So I'm not going to be winning those matches because it's so great. And then I go, I even got to a point where a couple agents pulled me aside like, hey, can you not bump so great on some finish? And I go, maybe, but I don't know. And I try to like take a tackle or somebody's drop kick, and I try to like not be great at it. And I go, I can't. I have like integrity that I have to uphold, and I can't stop myself from moving and doing it. I go, sorry, I got to take it well. So they're like, well, just be more selfish in your match. And I go, that's fine. I can get 1 or 2 more moves, but I'm still eating the bro kick at the end. So it doesn't matter that much. But yeah, the first time I took a bro kick, I like flipped inside out, and he goes, I want to see that every week. And he did. He did see it every week.
He did.
Hey, Jerry, you know how it was. We were in the creative meetings all the times on show day, and when they needed somebody, it was always Dolph, because they knew you could do it. They 100% knew you could do it. You know, you might have, maybe either one of or the best worker in the company. So you're like,
you're exactly right about Billy and the Dolph. I mean, once you get that mindset, then that's really a good asset to have, is be able to take all those bumps and then put guys over, make them look better, because you're getting better at the same time. But it's a fatal career mistake when you're able to do that, because, like John said, the production meeting, well, we got this guy here, we're not sure if he can do that. Well, let's put Dolph with him, or let's put Billy with him. They'll make him look good. And all of a sudden, boom, there you go. Another guy's Duke in the air.
Yeah. And see, that was to my advantage. They're like, John can't work. We're not putting him
John
with somebody.
John didn't make nobody look.
We're not putting. They didn't put me with anybody that couldn't work.
After they put Ron Simmons with John to try.
That's right. That's right. Ron was like the 1990s Dolph, just like a lot, a 14-pound bigger version.
Yeah, 14. Perfect. But again, it was like, well, we have nothing for you, but we'll always find this spot one way or another. But then if you hang around long enough people get sick or hurt, then you get like that chance and you go, okay, am I in now? Like, no, you're right back to it. But it was a blessing and a curse. And it was, but I go, I can't not give 11 out of 10. I tried, and I couldn't. And then I got to a point where I know that like, if somebody gets hurt, 2 weeks before a pay-per-view, I'm going to get shoved in, not to a random match, like to fight for the world title. And it was like in case of emergency, break glass and put Dolph in the ring. And a lot of times it would be better than whatever the match was supposed to be. And some of those times it was, long couple months stories. And a lot of times it was a 2-week feud where one guy won a match in 6 minutes. The other guy won in 6 minutes. They had the payoffs at the pay-per-view. And even then it would be like, okay, cool. We're going to throw you in to this world title match because Khali got hurt or Del Rio got hurt for the day or concussion or something. You're fighting Sheamus for the world title in New Jersey and you're opening the show. And I was like, man, I wasn't even booked. I go, okay, great, let's go. And because of the crowd realizing the effort that got put in and knowing what I was capable of, they made that match bigger than it should have been. And that happened a lot through my career. It's so much the fans making it better than it should have been.
You know what that was? I always thought, I was a big fan of Michael Jordan. And one thing Jordan was so great about was he played with incredible passion every single day. His tongue wagging, all this. Maybe the greatest player of all time. I think he probably was. But whether he was or not, people love to cheer him because they know how much he gave out on the court. And I think that's the same thing the fans thought with you. They know this guy is busting his ass. Win or lose, like Jordan. I mean, people it's infectious when you see a guy like that. When you see somebody go through the paces, you're just like, okay, it might be good, might not be good. But when you see a guy busting their ass, you're going, this is something I want to get behind because you pay hard-earned money. And when you do, and you think this guy's working hard and I'm appreciating it, it's a different experience.
And it really helps someone like me where maybe they didn't have plans and maybe I would have slowly gone to a couple Sunday night heats for a few months and then just disappeared, other than getting a reaction that I shouldn't and be like going every once in a while, just having Vince go, oh, maybe he should have been in that match originally. Okay. And that's something I told my brothers, I told Ryan, I go, whatever we do here and whatever you work on, like give them zero excuses to not want you on the show. Cause I thought I was fired when I was the caddy. I thought I was fired after the Spirit Squad. And I go, I'm going to work so hard at being good at this that I'm not begging them to call up. They're going, we need you on this roster to help this guy, and maybe fight for the world title. And I told that day, I go, do all the work. So it's hard for me to sleep at night anyway. I go, just so I can go to bed at night going, I did everything I possibly can to give myself a chance. Now it's out of my hands. Let's go. And Nick,
from what I understand from a few friends of mine, when you finally got that opportunity to get that strap around your waist there, that was kind of Vince's reward to you and for your hard work. I was told that Vince, that when your name come up, Vince said, I really owe this guy the opportunity to do it because of the way he works and his dedication to the business. I was told that by one of Vince's right-hand men. I wasn't president at the time, but that's really the reason, because of your hard work and your dedication to the business, that they rewarded you with that belt.
And that's awesome. And that whole moment and story and everything that happened, like, is the best. And even losing the title at the next month was we did a double switch with Del Rio and myself, and where we faked that I had like a concussion, coming back from a concussion, and he attacked my head and he made it vicious and gross. And it's still one of my favorite matches because we literally figuratively and literally switched roles halfway through the match. And he's this baby face and I'm the heel, and halfway through it, there's so much sympathy on me because he becomes this like snarling, growling, looking to murder me. And I'm like selling my head and falling down. Like I'm so proud of that one. Not just that cash in that 3 minutes up and down. Like it's like a 25-minute match where it's just like, it almost becomes a snuff film to where he's just kicking my head and the doctor's checking on me. And there's just something beautiful about it to where it was the safest match I've ever been in, but it seemed so gross. It seemed like it seemed like a slasher movie at a drive-in, and people were like, just leave the house or get out of there. And it was just so fun and so great. So I'm proud of that too. So I'll take it.
It's got to be cool, Nick. You become the biggest wrestler in in Kent State history to make sure Vince can Google you, and which is pretty remarkable. And then years later, I was in the production meetings, which doubled as the creative meetings a lot of times on TV Day, because Vince would rewrite the show. And I heard him say that. I heard him say exactly what Jerry's talking about. We owe Dolph. Dolph has done so much for us. We owe him, and it's got to be pretty cool to think I want to impress this guy, and then you impress him so much that he wants to make you world champion because he thinks so much of you.
Yeah, that's crazy to me because there's so many options out there, and in a business where everybody works hard, like everybody, like 99% of everybody works hard as hell because it's so many people's dream, and to somehow have that stand out that I was working hard and dedicated to this thing when everybody is doing it, like it's not like I work at Kinko's and you're really standing out because everyone else is on their phone and high. You're like, no,
right.
I'm standing out when everyone's like just their dream job and fighting for every couple. Like that's amazing to me. And luckiest
what
guy
I see
in the world.
fans say about you often, and I think what fans think is whatever, but sometimes it's poignant. And I think in this case it is. They'll say, Dolph Ziggler and Nic Nemeth is someone who at anytime they suddenly put him in a world title match, wherever it is, we're always like, yeah, okay, he might be champion. Like it's not like, oh, we know who's winning. It's
that's a rare
credible
trait.
and believable.
There are very few guys like that in any generation that you can put in an opening match, and maybe they're putting somebody over, to make a new guy come in, or you can put them in the last match and they become world champion that day. Very few guys can do both. It's a real rare trait to be able to do that. So Ryan, it seems kind of like you guys are a little bit opposite on your career arc. It seems like Dolph is almost full-time wrestler wanting to be a stand-up comedian, and you're the stand-up comedian wanting to be a wrestler.
Yeah, and I like
both of you are like, I really want to be like my brother, and then the other brother's going, I really want to be like my brother.
It's it's the yin and yang, and that's why the things like us teaming together is so fun, and because the chemistry he was talking about earlier, we have that. Maybe it's not a decade wrestling in the ring together, but we've been doing live comedy together. When he used to do DZ and Friends comedy shows during WrestleMania week, and we did that for a few years. He did that on his own, and I was in the background, doing sketch, improv, stand-up acting, comedic acting. And now we kind of have this set schedule of every 2 months we'll do a show around either a WWE show or, the first time ever, we're doing it around a TNA show, which is pretty huge. TNA has been kind of on a roll with Nick leading the company. And so we did Detroit last year.
By the way, had one of the best 60-minute matches I've ever seen the other night. I was there at the show.
That was incredible. That was
First time ever, and I was pretty nervous because I talked a lot of trash for the last 15 years of my career going, hey, you're giving me 5-minute matches, but I can do 30 without even breaking a sweat. And then for the last 2 years at WWE, I was doing 5-minute matches, and I go, I hope I still got it in the tank from St. Ed's. We'll see. And I halfway through, I'm like, do something. I'll hold him down and be like, how much time, rep? He goes, 54 more minutes. I'm like, oh my God, really? What? Like,
hey, I don't know if I told you.
Josh Alexander kicks ass. He made it easy.
60-minute matches are incredible. I mean, you go and you work, you're used to maybe 20. Okay, 20 I can get through. You get that 20 mark and okay, I feel good. I can do the other 20. I can do the other 20. You get that other 20. Oh shit, what's this thing? And then when they get like 50 minutes, you say, man, how much longer we got? When they at 55-minute mark, you start, I don't know if I can make it. That far. And boom.
Jerry, I'll tell you how it goes. You ask the referee, how much time we got? 14 and a half minutes left. Next time you ask him, how much time we got? He goes, 14 minutes, 20 seconds left.
Like, no.
I was in Cleveland visiting mom and dad when that aired or whenever that was on, and we were watching it. My dad and I are on our feet the whole time watching, like, oh my God. And then right near the end, mom turns around and goes, this is actually pretty decent match. And I thought, that's all you're saying.
How dare you?
Your mom, you got that way to go, man. Mom says that's got to be a good match.
It's all right. Like, okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's okay.
So Ryan, how much of your time is split between the two? Is most of what you're doing writing and producing and stand-up comedian?
Oh yeah, since I've joined the ranks of TNA, it's been I'll just admit a much lighter schedule travel-wise. So I have a lot of time here. Like for example, I was able to do Clark Duke's new movie Stranglehold with Ron Perlman. And that was pretty fun. That was like a week. I had to leave our Australia tour a day early to go do that. So I try to keep things separate so I never have to cancel or have these conflicts ever and book out and plan ahead. But that was one of those things I just had, last minute. Hey, can you be in this movie? Yeah, I can. Yeah, sorry. And otherwise, I try to just like schedule really well. So like Detroit, for example, will have Bound for Glory. So I thought, Nick, let's do our live comedy show the night before that. So that way it's a convenient, if you're already a fan in town for the big TNA tapings, come see the Nemeth brothers do a comedy variety show. And that's, combine them together if we can.
And Ryan, when I left WWE, I said, let's make a lot of people like have a video or something like, hey,
Yeah.
here's a new chapter of my life. I'll be bouncing around. I go, let's make a movie that has nothing to do with wrestling.
Yeah.
A 5-minute movie that's like Evil Dead, but like an action hero. And I can like kind of have a different persona. And Ryan did all the heavy lifting behind it. Like he wrote, produced, set up shots, got everybody available, like from all his stuff that he's filmed in the past and made this friggin' movie that rocks.
It was perfect timing. This director I'm friends with, screenwriter director Maggie Levin, she said, I don't start my next feature film until whatever date. I'm kind of open these few months if anyone wants to collaborate. And then the same day you texted me and said, hey, can we make a video? And I was like, well,
meant to be.
And she, her genre is horror. She does sci-fi and horror stuff. So I said, what do you think about this idea? Nick is being attacked by Evil Dead zombies, and we make it,
like for a new wrestling video.
For her,
that's right,
she goes. I think she said, "Now, what does this have to do with wrestling?" I said, "Nothing at all." But like, we'll drop it when he goes to New Japan. That's when it'll be timed with that, And that was like the perfect. I would say that and working on the Iron Claw were like the two perfect marriages of the things I love: film, wrestling together, and stunts and all that. And I got to be a zombie for Wanted Man video. That was awesome. I got to have the full, but then I had to go kind of like help run the rest of the shoot. So I got my stuff out of the way, but I never had time to take the makeup off. So the whole next 12 hours I had Evil Dead makeup on and blood and fake teeth and all that. And I forgot I would have it on. So someone would be standing next to me, like watching and go, oh shit. I forgot. Sorry.
I forgot.
Yeah.
You're like, are you undead?
Like,
tell me the truth.
It's like an hour and a half to get that all removed. So there's no time. We had to just keep going and going. So I had to leave that on for, the entire day.
Kane one time, they wanted to get out of the building. So we got back. I don't know if he's right with us. Can't remember or not. He rode me a lot, but I don't think it was during this time, but this night. So he had all his makeup on and everything. He wanted to get out of the building. He was a shower back at the hotel. So he goes back to the hotel, give him the key to the room. He walks up there. There's Kane still in his full gimmick without the mask on, but has the makeup on underneath the mask. Walks into the wrong room.
Oh my God.
Couple laying there in bed watching TV.
I would think that the world had ended, or I was in a slasher horror film. Like,
and, Glenn is the nicest human being on the planet, and he's like, "No, I'm sorry, I had the wrong." Who's like looking at him like,
"Take whatever you want."
What does it feel like to die? How are we going to die?
Oh my God!
Is this guy going to torture us first?
Clearly, yeah, he's going to. And the best is like he has like a little Southern and ma'am, and he's like, "Oh, pardon me, ma'am. My bad. I'm a 7-foot monster with full makeup on, breaking into your room." Yes,
that's right.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. Do you guys remember a character in the wrestling mentioned Pac Song Nam? He was a real hot. He was a big Korean guy down here in Florida, and he was one of Dusty's biggest.
Oh, dang, I don't know, Ryan.
Anyway, he had one of those Korean heads that were just a 1.5 feet long. So they were having a matches in Miami. And Miami had a flight back to Tampa at 11:15, and so everybody would argue that night who's going to be on last, so we can make that flight back. So Dusty always liked being on last. Pac Song had bought a ticket to come because they were scheduled to be on earlier, but Dusty's ego, oh no, we got to go on last. So, of course, it's a bloodbath.
Oh yeah.
So Pac's on really nice guy, kind of like Glenn, just a really nice guy, but this freak and size and everything. So we're my brother and I were on the match before, so we make sure that Pac's on has a ride back to the airport. Pac's on don't even take a shower or anything, just grabs his bag. We got everything ready in the car. He's still bleeding from that bed, so he's trying to wipe off the blood. So it's back in the days before TSA or anything where you could just go on the airplane. So we're sitting there. That's back in the hippie days of Miami. Everybody's stoned out of their mind. So we're on the plane. We're already having our drinks. these two long-haired hippies are sitting across the aisle from him. All of a sudden comes this 6'9" big Korean with his head like this and blood streaming down his forehead.
God.
On the fly, he said, these two guys are elbowing. Hey, dude, look at that, man. It was the funniest thing I ever seen. But like, they were just petrified. And he came, and Pac-Man sat right beside him there. And all fight, he's wiping his head.
Oh, my God.
They're not saying a word. They're just like that. Weird thing, man.
That's the world that Rip Rogers and Jim Cornette would have fit in perfectly.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Maybe not the new publicly traded corporate world.
Yeah. No. Rip would have poked him a couple times without looking walking by the bathroom.
Yeah. Hey, Names. Hey, Names.
Yeah. So tell us now. You guys are going into the podcast business. What's going on? What are you guys up to now?
Ryan, take it. Ryan knows the intro and outro and did all the heavy lifting.
Oh, Podcast One, the network approached me and said, we would love to talk to you and Nick about maybe doing a brothers podcast and they said, we don't want to have another show where we review wrestling matches. We like to hear about the stuff you do outside of the ring, mostly, maybe some tales from the road. We want to hear about the comedy shows, have show business guests on once in a while, have someone from wrestling to talk about the crossover. And I was kind of hesitant at first because I don't think I really was interested in reviewing wrestling matches or doing what I think some podcasts would do, And when they emphasized the other aspect of it, I said, well, Nick, what do you think? And then we talked to them and something sounded enticing. What do you think it would be? What's the thing that kind of turned your mind? Because I was interested in the show business comedy aspect of it and kind of enhancing our brand as the brothers who have these shows,
I love that stuff because, and again, yeah, like on Busted Open, I have to review wrestling. So I was like, I don't want to review wrestling stuff. Mm-hmm. I want to do fun stuff. We have these weird jobs that all intertwine with comedy, movies, wrestling, stand-up, all this stuff. And we wanted to have apply. And I go, I love my time in WWE, but a couple times they approached me to do some stuff. And I go, yeah, but they'll own it. And they'll let me know what I'm allowed to talk about. And they'll let me know what the guests are. And I go, I'm going to wait till we're out. And then I got out and then we started immediately talking about we'll put together a YouTube thing. We'll make some more little movies. We'll do some sketches. And I go, that'd be kind of perfect for us to have a loose affiliation with wrestling, occasionally talk to some guys. But I got 20 years worth and you got 20 years worth of everything else combined together. And we can do wrestling and talk about all this stuff. And then just funny stuff. Like I did a GCW show at which now 3 of us have on the Zoom and at least 3 so far. But we did that. It was just we didn't talk about the wrestling. We talked about our dad was there. And here's the funny part that how he got involved in the show. And here's how I went to the airport, much like the story we just told. I left in my gear and I got powder thrown in my eyes by Matt Cardona, full white powder all over my face in wrestling gear, went right to the airport. And the cops were like, come on, man. What are you doing? Come on.
Yeah.
I had no idea because it's GCW. There's not locker rooms. We're getting changed outside. And the second we finished, I hopped in an Uber and barely made my flight. And I'm like, what? And I looked at my phone. It was just a shotgun blast from Tom and Jerry of white powder all over my face, crazy hair, sweat. And then I'm in my basically Motley Crue pants. And they're like, what are you trying to, I'm like, I swear this is an accident. But I was just trying to make a flight. And so it's that happens. That stuff, because so many people were talking wrestling, the storylines, all that stuff. We want to do the fun stories that we have in between, especially if we can embarrass our dad a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Brothers podcast will probably never work. I mean, the Kelsey brothers barely made it.
Scraping by those guys.
Just barely getting by. I mean, they're just tough. Week after week, it's a slug. One day they have
and don't forget the Mannings too. They struggle.
Oh, that's right. The Manning brothers. Yeah, they're struggling too. Brother stuff never worked. The Brisco brothers never worked. I normally have my Brisco brothers shirt on.
I wish we would have known ahead of time. We're screwed.
That's right. You got no chance. You got absolutely no chance.
Well, you should have done our podcast. You should have done our podcast earlier, man.
We signed on to a 20-year contract.
With the hurricane, this could be Mr. Briscoe's last podcast, too.
Oh, my God. That's right.
That's right.
And I appreciate if you're not giving us the hurricane live on the Zoom, at least we get the honor of we had the last one and
that's right.
We can let everybody know.
Gary, we're going to miss you. We're going to miss you a lot.
Thank you, Don.
It's like he's still here. Right. It's almost he's still here with us.
I can still hear his laugh.
Then he asked me one day, he goes, you ever notice that I ever might be slipping? And I said, you're from Oklahoma. How can I tell?
I never know. Yeah.
How would I know? How would I possibly know? He asked Bruce Richard, but he goes, you ever think I'm slipping? Bruce said, yeah.
Yeah.
Bruce said, since when? He said 1986.
Oh man. Is that pine tree still standing?
So far, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't heard it fall yet. You will know it fall coming right across the back end of my office.
So the podcast, you guys have already started, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're about a month in. We've had some cool guests. We have had Gail Kim on so far. We had Jeff Tremaine of Jackass on talking about his new projects and how Nick hosted the prank show WWE Swerve that Jeff Tremaine produced. So that was that's the kind of stuff we're trying to do. The crossover of show business, interesting personalities who have dipped a toe into wrestling, but maybe they're not, 24/7 involved in wrestling. It's on Apple Podcast. It's on Spotify. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find the Nemeth Bros podcast. And you should. You can and you should.
It's a good time. It's always fun, and we're joking around and telling old stories. And again, we're not evaluating anybody like, well, shouldn't Roman have done this to Cody? Like, nobody cares. Like, we're not doing that. There's plenty of people with way more into it, did all the homework. We're telling funny stories and joking around and having really cool guests. We're very lucky because of wrestling and TV and movies. We have that crossover. We can have really cool guests like Jeff Tremaine. Man, he made all the Jackass movies and 10,000 other things. Like, it's so cool. Like, he rocks. And there's a little wrestling tie-in, not just with working with me at WWE. Like, he's like, I know this guy, I know this, I remember this. And everybody talks about all the different art forms and how they're all so similar at the end of the day, which makes it
And he wore his Hacksaw Jim Duggan t-shirt to the interview.
Yes,
he
did.
Isn't that amazing? You meet these guys and you think these are huge stars, and then they'll meet you and they go, boy, he's a big star, and like, well, Dolph, you are a big star, but I mean, it's like we don't associate ourselves with guys that we think of as stars,
Right.
Jeff Tremaine, he asked me today, he said, are you and Nick going to do any more of that league that we went to see you at? And he's talking about the Lucha Brothers show that they came to watch, where it was Nemeth Brothers against Lucha Brothers. And I said, well, that's not really a league. They just do one show a year. So no. But he loves coming to that kind of thing and just being up close and seeing the action and all that, loves it.
Well, guys, hey, thank you so much for coming on me and Mr. Briscoe's last podcast together.
It's last podcast.
I'm gonna miss Jerry. I already miss him. I already miss him.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on. Thank you very much.
Send a donation to the Gerald Briscoe Memorial Fund.
Memorial Fund. Yeah.
Yes. Don't just send it to JBL. My family will never get it.
That's right.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Hurricane Milton. I mean, what a threatening name, Milton. I mean,
Milton.
You're going to have a hurricane take you out of the damn world. At least make it George or Sam or Sue or something like that. Or Nick or Dolph,
or Hellraiser or something great. Yeah, something big. You're like, man, I'm scared.
Milton took him out. Oh,
wow.
Man. Hey,
you
guys,
call
let me tell you
him...
a quick story. I know you got to go. Let me tell you a quick story. Gerald, Mr. Briscoe had not a heart attack. He thought he's having a heart attack in Iowa. I'm sitting there with him, and he looks at me and he says, call 911. I'm having a stroke. And he passed out, and he thought he was having a stroke. So anyway, as soon as he passed out, I grabbed him. Tony Gurria's wife grabbed him from behind. He didn't fall, but covered in sweat right away. And I thought, honestly, I thought we had lost him. I thought that was it. And the ambulance got there in minutes. I mean, it was get there and go to him on the thing. He's not responsive at all. Put him on the gurney and to take him out. As we're going out with him, I lean over to him and I whisper in his ear. I said, "Don't you die in Iowa. You know how embarrassing that would be."
My God.
And he kicks out and he goes, "No shit." That's a true story. And all the guys that were carrying him were like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah, what was that supposed to mean? Like, it's Oklahoma
sucks,
thing.
That's what that means.
Yeah, two places I don't want to. Texas.
That's right.
Texas or anywhere else but Oklahoma. Yeah,
that's right.
So don't get taken up by Milton.
Cleveland, Ohio. I can handle that.
That's right.
Texas or Iowa.
So, like you say, don't get taken out by Milton. That'd be so. God, a big tough guy like you.
Thank you guys very much. I won't get out here so I can.
Thank you guys. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.